What's up, YouTube? Blue Collar Crypto here. I am really excited about the Bitcoin Lightning Network. Yesterday, they just went on. They released their first beta of it. I have kind of missed the boat on the initial information about Bitcoin Lightning because I was too busy researching altcoins. But guys, this can be a game changer. One of the biggest handicaps Bitcoin had to deal with was scalability and the fact that it just couldn't process that many transactions. Only about 4 or 5 a second, and when you compare that to Visa or MasterCard, they can do several thousand. So Bitcoin as a wide-ranging, widely used payment system wasn't very realistic unless they solved the scalability issue. The Lightning Network seeks to do that in its first beta testing. Now, a lot of this hinges on the Lightning Network being successful, but if it is, we could see Bitcoin reaching new all-time highs and really just making all of our dreams come true. I'm going to talk about why I think that is entirely possible, and it's not just mindless sort of speculation. I mean, of course, this is cryptocurrency. The world is crazy. I'm not saying that this is a guarantee, but for the reasons I'm about to describe, I think it's at least worth a look, and it's definitely worth a speculative investment at this point. So you got to keep in mind that up until this point, Bitcoin has had pretty much a similar utility in that not many people were using it for very much other than some type of investment, whether it be a short term or a long hold or anything else. I mean, of course, there's a use for it, but it constitutes only a very small percentage of the activity in the market. The Lightning Network could change all of this. You know, you think about the fact that there are nearly 1 billion people in the developing world, and 90% of them have access to a smartphone, but only 40% of them have access to reliable banking. And the fact that Bitcoin with the Lightning Network and how quickly the transactions would be at that point could really, it could revolutionize everything. I mean, I've done videos about it. I've done videos unpacking why cryptocurrency is so revolutionary. But to speak specifically to the trends right now, because, you know, back here in early November, when the price was coming down quite sharply, went down to 5,800 on the daily, myself and some of the other day traders and short-term guys were saying that Bitcoin was going to come back down, maybe even retrace as low as like 4,500. But then we got news of the futures trading, and that completely changed everything. It got all the news articles, the mainstream society learned about it, and it got right back over 8,000, and then kabam, in just a matter of a month, going from $8,000 to $20,000, absolutely ballistic. You're absolutely right to call it a short-term bubble. And of course, we saw the blow off, which took it from 20,000 all the way back down to 5,800 on the daily, like all the way back down to this one here. This is a short-term speculative pump inside of a longer-term bull trend. And this is something I've been saying for a while about Bitcoin because it's an emerging technology. Emerging technologies gain people's interest. They fascinate people, and they're susceptible to speculative runoffs and subsequent blowoffs. And in my view, this is exactly what we're seeing with Bitcoin. Now, we need to talk about the post-correction trend here, because obviously we saw the bull rush here, the subsequent drop measured like from the top of the peak to the bottom here. Now we're seeing a trading range being established by this very long-term trend of lows represented by this bottom green ray and this foundation of buy support, getting in a little tighter here for you, right around 7,500. And I could actually move this up to 8,000. And when I show you the weekly chart, you'll understand why that makes a little more sense. Just real quick, you see what I mean? The daily went sharply below, but the weekly has never really gone below 8 grand. So right now that's a bottom. Now, of course, on the weekly, we're still sort of testing this bottom, but with the news about the Lightning Network, that's going to have people pretty bullish, I would think. So I'm bullish on Bitcoin big time right now. So anyway, I think that there is a whole lot of sell pressure around the $12,000 mark, and that's not going to go anywhere for quite a while. It's going to take the market some time to learn about the Lightning Network, and it's going to take the Lightning Network a little while to prove itself. So I think now, just to draw my little lines of speculation here, I think we're going to see Bitcoin doing something like this. And I mean, you know, you can never be perfectly accurate about this, obviously, but just sort of zigzagging in this range and ultimately emerging above $12,000 maybe sometime in July. You know, we're just kind of guessing here, but in July would be enough time for the Lightning Network to be tested and gain some credibility and get some news articles, and it could be the sufficient momentum to push it through that 12,000 sell pressure. Of course, this is all contingent on, you know, cryptocurrency doing well and nothing coming out of left field completely. So again, this is a very volatile space. It's risky. You know, don't throw your entire life savings into it. But if you got disposable income, you want to make a speculative investment, Bitcoin all the way 100%. If I have to eat my words completely, I'll do it. You can go back, you can show me this video and say, Joe, you were telling us Bitcoin was going to be like $150 or $1,000 or whatever I said it was. And I'll say, yeah, I was wrong. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. So I really hope I'm not. But I'm assuming that I'm right about all of this, and I have some decent enough reasons here. What do we think will happen when the Lightning Network proves itself and we're in the month of July and the price is hovering in the $13,000 range? Will there be a lot of sell pressure oriented with these past peaks and these dips here? Or will those people have long been shaken out of the market during the really scary lows, and the blue sky breakout effect, I should say, is going to be a lot lower than the double top? I see what I mean. Now, because, you know, they were saying that when Bitcoin broke above $8,000 right here, it's a blue sky breakout. Blue sky breakout means price going to where it's never been before. And so there's nobody who bought in like way high, way back here, waiting to jump out and get even. Okay. And blue sky breakouts can go ballistic, and this one did. So if there are people, a lot of people who bought in at this range from 15 to 20K and are still holding right now, a lot of them are going to see Bitcoin come back up and go, we want out, we want to break even, we regret having gotten into this, and we're thankful for the opportunity, because they're expecting some chart that's going to go boom, double top, and then finally pop. And once again, guys, that's entirely possible. But even if that's what you think is going to happen, Bitcoin's 84.97 right now. You think we're going to get a double top to 20 grand? Buy it. So not even complicated. But I think that a lot of people in the market got shooken out because they were new dumb money. They bought in and are not going to have the patience to understand what's going on, and got shaken out very quickly in this phase in, like, say, maybe January into February, right? So I think, and this is really getting speculative here, that when we push above 12 grand, that's going to have more of a blue sky breakout effect. That we're going to see a lot less sell pressure from 12 grand to 20 grand than maybe some of the traders think. So just to extrapolate my, you know, whatchamacallit, speculation here, once we break through, I could see this sort of thing happening. And I say this because I see this trend of peaks here, and that just seems to sort of be resuming. I mean, this is a really speculative ray here. I should, for the sake of visual honesty, just make that dotted. But kind of assuming that this little runoff and subsequent blow off was an anomaly in an otherwise long-term bullish thing, an eventual retracement up to this, quite likely. Or is it called the retracement when it goes back up? See, I don't know all my fancy terms. But All right, so we do all that. We mosey back up to 20 grand, and it's like, oh, I'm going to be more bullish with this. Okay, make it look better. September, and then we get the Christmas rush, and we do some kind of thing where we just fly. And guys, I'm starting to dream right now. I admit it. I admit it completely. But if the Lightning Network works and Bitcoin has a utility and it can handle thousands of transactions a second and it can do it, why wouldn't this go up? I'm very hopeful about this. I mean, I can't continue drawing lines here and say that there's any validity to this at all. This is pure speculation. But I do think that Bitcoin is in a squeeze pattern right now. I think this is pretty obvious by the charts and pretty well justified by what's happened in the market. And I think after the effect of the pump and blow off settles down, you'll see it squeeze in and then boom. And I mean, in a lot of ways, looking at the Bitcoin chart right here. So hold on, I'm gonna show you guys something interesting here. So trading view. For some reason, guys, if I type trading view into the URL here, my internet service gives me some error message, which is something I have to call them about, but I just haven't yet. Okay, so I'm showing you guys Ethereum, and I'm doing this because before Ethereum had its what we'll call ballistic super pump here, going from like high 200s all the way to 1400, like Jesus Christ, right? And I actually called this one. I got into Ethereum at like 280, and then I got out like around in this area, like around 520 or something, like in the 500s. I was like, yes, very good trade. Got in, and then you never know how high these things will go. But I'm seeing Bitcoin kind of looking a bit like Ethereum. From 100 goes up way to 300 here, blows off, takes its time, and just kind of squeezes in. I mean, if you guys are experienced traders, you've seen the squeeze pattern a lot. But just to because it was so obvious with Ethereum, it's fun to draw the line. So like if you're doing some sort of lesson on charting, Ethereum's a great tool, I think, because look, you got just your very classic initial run up, your drop back down to the trend, your run up again, like a double top, back down to the trend, squeezing, breakout. I mean, that's textbook. It's a textbook breakout with Ethereum, and it's why I also got my eye on Ethereum. I think the Bitcoin is a little more bullish than Ethereum right now. Ethereum could come down a little more, but guys, if you're betting on Bitcoin right now, taking profits from Bitcoin, moving to Ethereum in the fall could be the way to go. We'll have to see about that. But yeah, I mean, check it out. Boom, boom, boom. It's going to just squeeze in and fly. And we'll see what happens. But I mean, guys, I'm excited. This is very, very good news about Bitcoin. And I'm not psychic. I can't predict the future. Be careful with your money. But all signs point to yes, in my opinion. And I'm actually taking on some more work and trying to work some more hours so I have more money to invest in crypto. Because, yeah, invest in crypto. In a few years, I'll buy a crypto. Okay, I'm done.